Hi all! Welcome to the Success Club. I'll be reading from The Art of Money Getting by P.T. Barnum. This video is sponsored by mynewskin.nl. Check out the website. So let's get down to business. Number 11, be systematic. Men should be systematic in their business. A person who does business by rule, having a time and place for everything, doing his work promptly will accomplish twice as much and with half the trouble of him who does it carelessly and slipshod. By introducing system into all your transactions, doing one thing at a time, always meeting appointments with punctuality, you find leisure for pastime and recreation. Whereas the man who only half does one thing and then turns to something else, and half does that, will have his business at loose ends, and will never know when his day's work is done. For it never will be done. Of course, there is a limit to all these rules. We must try to preserve the happy medium, for there is such a thing as being too systematic. There are men and women, for instance, who put away things so carefully that they can never find them again. It is too much like the red tape formality at Washington and Mr. Dickens' circumlocution office. All theory and no result. When the Astor House was first started in New York City, it was undoubtedly the best hotel in the country. The proprietors had learned a good deal in Europe regarding hotels, and the landlords were proud of the rigid systems which pervaded every department of their great establishment. When 12 o'clock at night had arrived and there were a number of guests around, one of the proprietors would say, "Touch that bell, John," and in 2 minutes 60 servants with a water bucket in each hand would present themselves in the hall. "This," said the landlord, addressing his guests, "is our fire bell. It will show you we are quite safe here. We do everything systematically." This was before the Croton water was introduced into the city. But they sometimes carried their system too far. On one occasion, when the hotel was thronged with guests, one of the waiters was suddenly indisposed, and although there were 50 waiters in the hotel, the landlord thought he must have his full complement or his system would be interfered with. Just before dinner time, he rushed downstairs and said, "There must be another waiter. I'm one waiter short. What can I do?" He happened to see Boots, the Irishman. "Pat," said he. "Pat, wash your hands and face. Take that white apron and come into the dining room in 5 minutes." Presently Pat appeared as required, and the proprietor said, "Now Pat, you must stand behind these 2 chairs and wait on the gentleman who will occupy them. Did you ever act as a waiter?" "I know all about it, sure, but I never did it." Like the Irish pilot, on one occasion when the captain, thinking he was considerably out of his course, asked, "Are you certain you understand what you are doing?" Pat replied, "Sure, and I knows every rock in the channel." That moment, bang, thumped the vessels against the rock. "Ah, be jabbers, and that is one of them," continued the pilot. But to return to the dining room, Pat said the landlord, "Here we do everything systematically. You must first give the gentlemen each a plate of soup. And when they finish that, ask them what they will have next." Pat replied, "Ah, and I understand perfectly the virtues of system." Very soon in came the guests. The plates of soup were placed before them. One of Pat's 2 gentlemen ate his soup. The other did not care for it. He said, "Waiter, take this plate away and bring me some fish." Pat looked at the untasted plate of soup and, remembering the instructions of the landlord in regard to system, replied, "Not till you have ate your soup." Of course, that was carrying system entirely too far. Number 12, read the newspapers. Always take a trustworthy newspaper, and thus keep thoroughly posted in regard to the transactions of the world. He who is without a newspaper is cut off from his species. In these days of telegraphs and steam, many important inventions and improvements in every branch of trade are being made. And he who don't consult the newspapers will soon find himself and his business left out in the cold. 13. Beware of outside operations. We sometimes see men who have obtained fortunes suddenly become poor. In many cases, this arises from intemperance and often from gaming and other bad habits. Frequently, it occurs because a man has been engaged in outside operations of some sort. When he gets rich in his legitimate business, he is told of a grand speculation where he can make a score of thousands. He is constantly flattered by his friends who tell him that he is born lucky, that everything he touches turns into gold. Now, if he forgets that his economical habits, his rectitude of conduct, and the personal attention to a business which he understood caused his success in life, he will listen to the siren voices. He says, "I will put in $20,000. I've been lucky and my good luck will soon bring me back $60,000. A few days elapse and it is discovered he must put in $10,000 more. Soon after he is told, "It is all right, but certain matters not foreseen require an advance of $20,000 more, which will bring him a rich harvest." But before the time comes around to realize, the bubble bursts. He loses all he is possessed of, and then he learns that he ought to have known at the first that however successful a man may be in his own business, if he turns from that and engages a business which he don't understand, he is like Samson. When shorn of his locks, his strength has departed and he becomes like other men. If a man has plenty of money, he ought to invest something in everything that appears to promise success. And that will probably benefit mankind. But let the sums thus invested be moderate in amount, and never let a man foolishly jeopardize a fortune that he has earned in a legitimate way by investing it in things in which he has no experience. Number 14. Don't endorse without security. I hold that no man ought ever to endorse a note or become security for any man, be it his father or brother, to a greater extent than he can afford to lose and care nothing about, without taking good security. Here is a man that is worth $20,000. He is doing a thriving manufacturing of mercantile trade. You are retired and living on your money. He comes to you and says, "You are aware that I am worth $20,000 and don't owe a dollar? If I had $5,000 in cash, I could purchase a particular lot of goods and double my money in a couple of months. Will you endorse my note for that amount?" You reflect that he is worth $20,000 and you incur no risk by endorsing his note. You like to accommodate him and you lend your name without taking the precaution of getting security. Shortly after, he shows you the note with your endorsement cancelled and tells you, probably truly, that he made the profit that he expected by the operation. You reflect that you have done a good action and the thought makes you feel happy. By and by, the same thing occurs again and you do it again. You have already fixed the impression in your mind that it is perfectly safe to endorse his notes without security. But the trouble is, this man is getting money too easily. He has only to take your note to the bank, get it discounted, and takes the cash. He gets money for the time being without effort, without inconvenience to himself. Now marks the result. He sees a chance for speculation outside of his business. A temporary investment of only $10,000 is required. It is sure to come back before a note at the bank would be due. He places a note for that amount before you. You sign it almost mechanically. Being firmly convinced that your friend is responsible and trustworthy, you endorse his notes as a matter of course. Unfortunately, the speculation does not come to a head quite so soon as was expected. And another $10,000 note must be discounted to take up the last one when due. Before this note matures, the speculation has proved an utter failure and all the money is lost. Does the loser tell his friend, the endorser, that he has lost half of his fortune? Not at all. He don't even mention that he has speculated at all. But he has got excited. The spirit of speculation has seized him. He sees others making large sums in this way. We seldom hear of the losers. And, like other speculators, he looks for his money where he loses it. He tries again. Endorsing notes has become chronic with you. And at every loss, he gets your signature for whatever amount he wants. Finally, you discover your friend has lost all of his property and all of yours. You are overwhelmed with astonishment and grief, and you say, "It is a hard thing, my friend here has ruined me," but you should add, "I have also ruined him." If you had said in the first place, "I will accommodate you, but I never endorse without taking ample security," he could not have gone beyond the lengths of his tether, and he would never have been tempted away from his legitimate business. It is a very dangerous thing. Therefore, at any time, to let people get possession of money too easily, it tempts them to hazardous speculations. If nothing more, Solomon truly said, "He that hath it suretyship is sure." So with the young man starting in business, let him understand the value of money by earning it. When he does understand its value, then grease the wheels a little in helping him to start business. But remember, men who get money too great facility cannot usually succeed. So men who get money with too great facility cannot usually succeed. You must get the first dollars by hard knocks and at some sacrifice in order to appreciate the value of those dollars. Number 15, advertise your business. We all depend more or less upon the public for our support. We all trade with the public: lawyers, doctors, shoemakers, artists, blacksmiths, showmen, opera stagers, railroad presidents, and college professors. Those who deal with the public must be careful that their goods are valuable, that they are genuine, and will give satisfaction when you get an article which you know is going to please your customers, and that when they have tried it, they will feel they have got their money's worth. Then let the fact be known that you have got it. Be careful to advertise it in some shape or other, because it is evident that if a man has ever so good an article for sale and nobody knows it, it will bring him no return. In a country like this, where nearly everybody reads and where newspapers are issued and circulated in editions of 5,000 to 200,000, it would be very unwise if this channel was not taken advantage of to reach the public in advertising. A newspaper goes into the family and is read by wife and children, as well as the head of the home. Hence, hundreds and thousands of people may read your advertisements while you are attending to your routine business. Many perhaps read it while you are asleep. The whole philosophy of life is first sow, then reap. That is the way the farmer does. He plants his potatoes and corn and sows his grain, and then goes about something else. And the time comes when he reaps. But he never reaps first and sows afterwards. This principle applies to all kinds of business, and to nothing more eminently than to advertising. If a man has a genuine article, there is no way in which he can reap more advantageously than by sowing to the public in this way. He must of course have a really good article, and one which will please his customers. Anything spurious will not succeed permanently, because the public is wiser than many imagine. Men and women are selfish, and we all prefer purchasing where we can get the most of our money, and we try to find out where we can most surely do so. You may advertise a spurious article and induce many people to call and buy it once, but they will denounce you as an impostor and swindler, and your business will gradually die out and leave you poor. This is right. Few people can safely depend upon chance custom. You all need to have your customers return and purchase again. A man said to me, "I have tried advertising and did not succeed, yet I have a good article." I replied, my friend, there may be exceptions to a general rule, but how do you advertise? I put it in a weekly newspaper 3 times and paid $1.50 for it. I replied, sir, advertising is like learning. A little is a dangerous thing. A French writer says that the reader of a newspaper does not see the first mention of an ordinary advertisement. The second insertion he sees but does not read. The third insertion he reads. The fourth insertion he looks at the price. The fifth insertion he speaks of it to his wife. The sixth insertion he is ready to purchase, and the seventh insertion he purchases. Your object in advertising is to make the public understand what you have got to sell. And if you have not the pluck to keep advertising until you have imparted that information, all the money you have spent is lost. You are like the fellow who told the gentleman if he would give him 10 cents, it would save him $1. How can I help you so much with so small a sum? Asked the gentleman in surprise. I started out this morning, hiccuped the fellow, with the full determination to get drunk, and I have spent my only $1 to accomplish the object. And it has not quite done yet. 10 cents worth more of whiskey would just do it, and in this manner I should save the $1 already expended. So a man who advertises at all must keep it up until the public know who and what he is, and what his business is, or else the money invested in advertising is lost. Some men have a peculiar genius for writing a striking advertisement, one that will arrest the attention of the reader at first sight. This fact, of course, gives the advertiser a great advantage. Sometimes a man makes himself popular by a unique sign or a curious display in his window. Recently, I observed a swing sign extending over the sidewalk in front of a store, on which was the inscription in plain letters, "Don't read the other side." I will continue with number 16, "Don't read the other side," in the next video. Thank you for watching, and check out my newskin.nl website, sponsor of this video. Sign up, join, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.